Hey guys, Andy here. So the good people at DDPai got in touch with me recently and said, did I want to test their M4 dashcam? I said, of course I do, send it on over. It's pretty much the same as the M6 except for one thing I believe, and that's the Sony image sensor. My understanding is that should give it a slightly better image in low light. So I thought, yeah, I'd love to give it a go. Now it's not the Plus version, which I've been using is the M6 Plus, so I think there's a few things missing, but it's basically kind of an international version. So my M6 Plus will announce in Japanese various different things. This one basically doesn't. So inside the box it looks very similar to the M6. We have some instructions just showing you kind of how it all goes together and where you might want to mount it and that kind of thing. All seems simple enough. Here's the actual camera unit. I think it's quite a nice sort of stylish, spherical almost, well not spherical, but rounded. In the back there is where the micro SD card's going to go. There are some lights on it that will let you know when it's got GPS, when it's recording, when it's got power, all that kind of thing. I mean, again, very much like the M6. We have the little button that connects up quite easily using Bluetooth, and should you wish to save the last 10 seconds to somewhere, you press the button and it saves it safe, it won't let you delete it off. Then we've got the mounting plate, which sticks onto the underside of your windscreen, and the actual camera mount, which kind of clicks into place with it. You tighten up the screw when the head is in the right position, and then the strong magnets just click it into place. And they are quite strong magnets. It would take some pretty big effort to remove that unless you're actually pulling at it. In the other boxes, we have the cigarette lighter power socket, which I won't actually use because mine will plug into a USB port in the car, or an adapter in the car, and you get some sticky pads that you can connect or sort of hook your wires out of the way with. And here is the wire, the USB cable. It's nice and long, you can see how big that is, and a couple of sort of trim removal tooly bits. So there's the camera all ready to go really. So it will fit into the same mount that my M6 had, which is nice. We'll remove the clear thing. You can get CPL filters that go on the front of them as well. What I did think, after a few days use, I thought I'd show you. Now this actually I got in quicker than pretty much any other time I tried, but it can be quite tricky to get that red bit out of the way. And then to get the memory card out, it doesn't really pop out far enough for me with short nails to get a hold of it. I mean, you can get it out with your fingers. I managed to kind of get a nail underneath the little ridge that's on the SD card, and I could pull it out with that. But I found it a lot easier in the end just to cheat, and I got some tweezers and pulled it out nice and easy. So let's head out to the car. Mine is fitted just behind the rear view mirror, which from my driver position means actually you can barely see it. From the outside, now this was actually one of the brightest days we've had, and I don't know how long, so I thought, oh, I'll go out and do a bit of filming. And it's really quite apparent in this video, and I probably should have waited for a dull day, because I can tell you actually it's really not that visible when there's not as much light bouncing around in the inside of my car. You can't see it so well, and as you can see here, you can so easily just pull it off the mount. It does stay battery charged for kind of 3 or 4 or 5 minutes even after that. One of the first things you want to do with the app when you've got it installed is get yourself an account. I'm not entirely sure what the account's for, but I was having some trouble. It kept saying registration failed, but I noticed later I had emails saying please confirm your email address. In the meantime, I'd already tapped the connect with Facebook, which I really don't like doing. So if you're noticing that error, check your emails that the account might actually have been created. Now I think that's why you need the account. There is some social stuff, we'll look at that in a second. What I'm going to do first is connect to the camera itself. It uses Wi-Fi. The app should help you to connect all up. And here's the social element of it. Various people have shared their videos taken with their dashcam. You can share your own with the plus button. If you've taken any pictures, they're in the album. And then the final bit is you and your settings. So let's look at the setting. The only thing, this is where I think it's not as much as the plus. So there's all kind of parking modes and things on the plus. All I wanted to do really was switch it to imperial measurements so that it gave me miles per hour and miles instead of kilometers. Then you can look in the app at your previous trips. Now you see there's a little sort of map icon. That stays the same no matter which one you look at. It doesn't actually change. Some of them, I'm not sure why, it hasn't seemed to have recorded the route properly, and I just got to look at the globe almost. But then I tried some other ones and you could see that was a trip I'd made a few days ago. It says it gives you kind of a rating of like harsh braking and harsh acceleration. I've got zeros everywhere. I mean, I might be a great driver. I'm not saying I'm not, but I was a little surprised that I didn't get any kind of, especially because I did have a couple of close calls while using this. So that's the app. Kind of handy, but it's a fairly simple app really for the camera. When you're in motion, you can have it connected to the camera and see what the camera's seeing, which enables you to kind of get it lined up properly, I suppose. It also shows you the speed you're going. I'm nicely under 30 miles an hour there, look, I think, if you can see with it bouncing around. But beware, it doesn't keep the screen on, look. So my screen time, I think, is a minute, and after a minute, it just went ahead and turned the screen off. So you would need to change that manually if you wanted it to stay on for longer than that. If we switch now, we'll see some actual footage of the camera that it filmed. Again, nice and bright, which always helps. I think the colours look fantastic. I think generally it's a really good quality image. You do see bits of compression here and there, probably a bit more so in the low light. But one of the first things I wanted to check was how visible it was to read other cars' registration plates. So we're going to see this car go by regular speed, and I think the first time I watched it, I thought, oh, I couldn't read the registration on that. I was a little bit worried, and then I sort of paused the video and realised that actually the quality that it's got is plenty good enough for you to check someone else's registration in good light. Now in sort of lower light that might not be as good, but hopefully most of the times we're going to have plenty good enough conditions to be able to read other cars' license plates. And I thought, well, okay, I wonder what the microphone's like. So I thought I'd better test that, and here we go with it now. Just taking a second to test the microphone on the DDPai M6. This is me speaking. I'm speaking relatively loud, but kind of, I guess, as I would if someone was sat in the seat next to me to make sure they could hear me. Hopefully it's not sounding too bad. Not a vital ingredient of a Dashcam, but can be quite handy. Clearly the microphone isn't very good, but as I say, it's not a vital part of the Dashcam. I can't imagine you're going to vlog driving around in your car, so really not all that bothered by it, to be honest. The final thing I thought I would show you before we move on to a bit more about the different sort of the image quality and such is the file structure on the SD card. So when you plug it into your computer, you'll see 5 different folders like this. The interesting one perhaps being the GPX data, so you could use that imported into the software to map or put a map over your video basically. And finally to see that they're 3-minute video clips, and they're around just over 200 meg for 3 minutes, so you fit quite a lot on a 32 gig card. Well, you know, and it automatically will roll over and delete the older files unless you've used the button that I showed you earlier to save them in a secure folder. So we've seen quite a bit of regular lighting, or well lit should I say. Here's some footage from early in the morning. You can see there it says 7:22 AM. The sun is beginning to rise, but obviously still lots of car lights and street lights. I think it looks really good. I think the quality is quite impressive, I would say. There's still quite a bit of reflection on my dashboard you see on the screen. I could probably get a CPL filter which will cut that down a little bit. It's probably the same CPL filter that I can use on the M6 Plus actually. And that does reduce some of the reflection that you see in the video. But overall, I mean, you're not going to be able to read a license plate of cars now. The lights are not things coming towards you anyway. The lights make it just far too difficult for a camera really. But all in all, that's still a very good image, I think, video. Let's move on to even darker. This footage taken, as you can see, 9:19 PM. So very dark at this point in a December night. But generally, again, I think the footage looks fairly, well, I'd say it's very good. I mean, you get a bit of the whole glare issue from the bright lights, but actually the quality and the visibility of everything that's going on, I would say, is still very, very good. It was commented by somebody when they saw it was going to be the Sony sensor that would mean it would have better performance in low light. I couldn't tell you why. They perhaps know something more about sensors. I don't particularly know that much about the individual sensors, but I would say that's a very good image actually for those conditions. Again, we're still getting some of the reflection from the dash that you could limit with a polarizing filter, but generally I would say that's very good. So the DDPai M4, I can see someone selling one on eBay for $75.99, and they're a great thing to have when somebody does something like that. I don't know if they don't see you, but they put one out in front of you. Maybe you're leaving a petrol station and you get to a roundabout and they don't know how a roundabout works. It's great to have the camera just so if you needed to prove they were supposed to have been given away to you, you've got that video evidence. You can see there actually it's going head on into bright light, and I think it copes with it really well. So for me, for £76 or around the £80 marker, let's say sub 100 definitely, I think it's a very good camera. I'm not looking for the bells and whistles, the lane detection, the collision detection and all this kind of thing. I just want a camera that's going to turn on as I turn on the engine and film what's going on. That's it, simple as that. It needs to be reasonably good quality so that you can, well, hopefully you can read registration plates, but probably just more importantly you can see what's going on around you. So all in all, I give it a thumbs up. Definitely one worth checking out. I like its design. It's relatively sort of subtle in the car. It's not too obvious. If you want ones with a few more of the features like the parking modes and things like that, I think you need to go to the Plus. Definitely my the M6 Plus had a parking mode. You would need it to be wired permanently into the power of the car though, so you might want to look into some of the extra bits you can get that kind of either monitor the power of your battery so you don't flatten the battery, or I think you can get kind of separate batteries solely for dash cams. So you might want to look into those if that's what you're looking for. So there we go. I'll leave it playing for a bit longer so you can see some more footage, but that's it from me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. My name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon.